So recently I came across the channel Ruger Rabbit, and in all honesty, I love some of his videos. War of the Monsters, the Viltrumite invasion, can these planets or can these kaiju survive these kind of scenarios? Basically, multiple beings from multiple different universes surviving one event, or one, universe as a whole. And today I decided, you know what, I want to do that. So I gotta give him credit where credit is due. But today, I'm going to do my own. Can these kaiju, not one, not two, not even three, but five, can these five, as you all see here before you, survive in the world Godzilla Unleashed? Now, we're going to be doing this kind of like how he did it, but again, you know me, I do like power scaling and stuff like that, so each character is going to have their respective tier, and we're going to be seeing how they fare within the verse. We're going to be using both their lower ends and their higher ends here to just be like, well, if that's not the case, then the higher end, scaling for the character, which is consistent, still managed to be out, the entire verse entirely. But let's talk about this. This game pretty much consists of the Vortak invasion while also the mutant uprising. The mutants, okay, want to become a tyrant, thus cementing themselves as the most dominant force on the entire planet, if not the universe. Meanwhile, the aliens are trying to invade to not only just conquer Earth, but to take control of their monsters as well. So each of these storylines, or basically both of these storylines, kind of mesh together to create one giant mess, considering the fact that the mutant uprising is pretty much one of the bigger threats of the story. So we'll be putting these monsters in the position of the Earth Defenders. Basically, they'll be going with the main monsters here, okay? So they'll be friends, and I will be discussing their rivalries, their potential allies, and their alien enemies. So some of these guys will have different, enemies and, allies as it goes on here. And with that being said, let's talk about the scaling of the verse. Now, Godzilla Unleashed is pretty simple and straightforward. All of these monsters scale to each other. All of them have the same, well, I'm not going to say same powers and abilities, but kind of the same stat-wise, okay? But again, there are still some things. Some monsters just have higher health than others. Some monsters have higher energy levels than others. So there is some differences, but in terms of like scaling and AP, they're all the same, with Godzilla being the catalyst for this, along with Space Godzilla. With Space Godzilla actually being able to, well, survive black holes still, and even being able, okay, to even create and consume, or pretty much just consumed, white dwarf stars, okay? So you could easily put this one around large star level, all right, as he's able to consume white dwarf stars, and then you have solar system level. As for speed, faster than light is pretty much just standard here, as in the lore of the game, Godzilla was able to tag Orga in his spaceship mode, Mogira even being able to blitz alien UFOs, and here's the funny thing, him and Godzilla were able to literally blitz alien spaceships. I mean, look how Godzilla's moving in this comic panel here. But with that being said here, yeah, these guys are incredibly strong and incredibly fast. So easily solar system plus to many times faster than light. However, they get higher with their critical mass mode, or their apex mode. Now, the apex is definitely treated a little bit differently than critical mass, considering the sheer fact that the monsters are capable of, like, seemingly one-tapping the other monsters, so it's very possible there's a 10 times multiplier for, like, the apex. However, critical mass puts a monster at around 3 times more powerful than their original base, allowing them to kind of just dominate with every attack they use here. So with that being said, that concludes Godzilla Unleashed, easily solar system plus at its highest. But let's talk about our first monster. The first monster we have is Tornaq from Colossal Kaiju Combat. Been meaning to get this one on the channel for a minute, because again, it's been a while since I did anything Colossal Kaiju Combat related, or CCK related. I'm just gonna call it Kaiju Combat. I'm not doing all that. So with that being said, how strong is Tornaq? Well, she's actually scales to the other monsters. That's not hard. All the monsters pretty much scale to each other. We have monsters that can literally survive in the core of stars, literally blow up countless stars, putting them at a multi-solar system to even galaxy level. Then you have the sheer fact that they have a universal to possibly even multiversal and likely higher feats. Because again, you can easily show that even monsters can honestly just equal each other, or they can honestly just scale above each other, in all honesty. With the countless universal to infinite universe statements and stuff like that, then you have the sheer fact that there's also faster than light scaling with the likes of Kagiza, Heart Eater, and so on and so forth. So what is Tornaq's own abilities? What can this ice bear do? Well, kind of simple and straightforward. She's able to manipulate and blast sub-zero ice-like temperatures. Yeah, believe it or not, she can actually use this liquid nitrogen-like ability to create her own ice-based weapons. She can create claws, shards, she can even blast it at opponents, and considering she's actually utilizing this cold nitrogen-like energy, this means she would likely freeze on a molecular level, excuse me. Then you have the sheer fact she can even create armor around herself, pretty much blocking everything. So with that being said here, yeah, how does she do? Now, again, I do think that one of the few fights she would definitely have is Destroyer. I could likely see that being her first fight. And considering Destroyer is still like his canon counterpart, she would be vulnerable, or he would be vulnerable to sub-zero temperatures. However, her rivalry or her mutant rival would definitely be the likes of Obsidious. And this will likely push Obsidious to possibly evolving his own powers and abilities as well. Because imagine being in your own lava-based environment, but you getting beat by an ice polar bear. Alright? And even still, if you just want to keep it at their low ends, then yeah, it's a very fun fight. However, at their high ends, it's kind of one-sided. Tornaq has like multiversal, with her low ends being like universal plus for like her lowest high balls. So it's not too much of a fair fight. As for her ally, I could definitely see King Caesar being the one to kind of like take her under his claws. I was gonna say wing. Take her under his claws, in all honesty. And in all honesty, I could actually see him mentoring her in how to fight. This would make Tornaq a much more deadlier fighter. And then the sheer fact that King Caesar is also capable of absorbing a lot of energies and redirecting it 10 times stronger than what it was before. So it's very possible they can have their own combo ability in their combo, attacks. So that would honestly be her mutant rival, but how would she do on the mothership? Pretty much she would be able to take it down on her own, and I actually think her ice-based abilities would actually make it a lot easier, with her likely freezing the internal systems of the ship and causing it to honestly just plummet entirely. Then you also have the ship Guardian. Now, who I think would be a perfect match for her, being the ship's guardian, or, the alien guardian or the alien bodyguard on the spaceship. And believe it or not, I'm going to say Orga. I know, kind of generic and basic, but I do think Orga is a very interesting match, considering the sheer fact that in this one, he still retains a lot of his abilities, minus his, consumption absorption ability. I mean, he may still have that because he is still like his original counterpart, but again, I don't think he would try it. And even if he does try it, that just gives Tornaq an easier way to just beat him, freezing his body from the inside out, and then just, boom, blowing him up. Now, let's talk about the Apex battle in the final part. Now, the Apex part is meant to be where the monster or the mutant monsters win. However, a lot of the Earths or the remaining forces pretty much just come together. And with that 3 times multiplier, Tornaq is going to be in a world of pain if we use her lower ends. However, given the sheer fact that she would likely be a skilled fighter at this point, especially having her partner being like King Caesar, and then also teaming up with the Global Defense Force and stuff like that, I do think that she would be able to, in all honesty, just secure the W. And even then, if things get difficult, she could likely absorb any of the critical mass crystals that are around the battlefield, obtaining her own level of energy as well. If not, have King Caesar do it while she buys time, and this allows the two of them to honestly take the win. She can also just increase her durability with her ice armor. So at the end of the day, do I think Tornaq does well? Yeah, she does. She either just one-taps everybody with her higher tier scaling, or even using her lower end scaling, she still proves to be the most dominating force on the battlefield. But now to move on. Next monster we got here, that being Saberwolf from Killer Instinct. Yes, we are adding Killer Instinct to the roster now. So, how powerful is Saberwolf? Well, believe it or not, I think speed should be covered first because this is the simplest one. He scales to Glacius. Now, Glacius here is actually one of the more interesting characters in Killer Instinct when it comes to speed. You see, Glacius is able to move in milliseconds, but he's able to attack in nanoseconds. It's one of the most interesting things about his, character. Because again, he can freeze things at a nanosecond. And again, this goes into his attack speed and everything and his manipulation. However, when he moves in a millisecond. This is very possible he could just be holding back his actual true speed. But if we really go with his attack speed and the fact that he can keep up with other characters that can keep up with his attack speed, he should easily be in the nanosecond margin. And Saberwolf has actually been able to beat Glacius repeatedly. Then we have the sheer fact that Saberwolf also scales to Gargos. Gargos being a being that has mastered the entirety of the astral plane, which is its own infinite universe. Then we have the fact that Gargos at a low end, outside of the astral plane, mind you, is so powerful that in this fight with Idol, they were basically compared to multiple supernovas going off, putting him again at a multi-solar system just for his base. Now, this is actually pretty interesting because this means that Saberwolf's base would be equal to them. Okay, because he has been able to beat characters that have been able to beat Idol, or even characters that have also been able to beat the likes of Gargos as well. Now, Saberwolf does have his own packs and abilities. You guys have probably just seen them here, such as the electrical manipulation and the fact that he can summon giant bats to rip his opponents apart. So, how does he do in Godzilla Unleashed? Does he make it far, or does he stop dead in his tracks eventually? Well, believe it or not, I think he actually is going to benefit if he pairs up with the Global Defense Force. Because again, I can make a whole scenario where Saberwolf is just part of the Global Defense Force here. And again, he is smaller than the other Kaiju. But again, size does not matter when it comes to fictional characters. And in all honesty, I could see them giving him the same technology as Jet Jaguar. And honestly, giving him the ability to shrink and grow in size. And I think that would actually be beneficial, because otherwise he's just going to be the honey badger, and in all honesty, I don't think that's a problem here either. So with him being paired up with Jet Jaguar, they will be able to take down a lot of the Kaiju, even some of the more mutant ones as well. Speaking of mutants, I think his best rivalry, or the best opponent to give him a rivalry with, because again, there is a common mutant for every monster like I said earlier, I think Titanosaurus does fit that, in my opinion. I think it would be pretty interesting to see how this giant sea monster, or this giant dinosaur-like sea creature, versus a whole werewolf, a whole case of like prehistoric mutation versus supernatural might, And Titanosaurus, in all honesty, is a skilled warrior as well, considering the sheer fact that Saberwolf himself is also a master at hand-to-hand combat and is his own form of martial arts now, because he had to adjust to his werewolf-like body. Oh, and Saberwolf does have a regenerative healing factor, so I forgot to mention that, excuse me. Now, as for his alien, his alien battle on top of the Vortag mothership, I do think he would be able to take it down due to his electrical powers, plus, again, he is like insanely fast here. I think the fact that Megalon would actually be a good pick, because again, it does kind of fit Saberwolf's whole thing of combining the supernatural or even the natural with scientific enhancement. And again, I do also think that having a natural being combined with, scientific enhancements like Megalon or Gigan would definitely suit the likes of Saberwolf here. So I do think he does beat the Alien campaign. However, when it gets to the Apex campaign, that's going to be a bit tricky. And in all honesty, I think this is where he just kind of like uses his speed to his advantage, because even at his lower ends, he just can't fully overpower the likes of an Apex mutant here, or even an Apex Titanosaurus, which would definitely cause a bit more damage. However, he's going to be the Honey Badger. He's not going to care. And I actually do think his speed is going to play a vital part in this. Because again, while these monsters are faster than light, they're not attacking or moving within nanoseconds or reacting at that speed as well. Meaning that Saberwolf not only would be faster, he would be so fast to such a degree that he looks like a blur. So it's not essentially, he is going to look like the Honey Badger, or basically be the entire Honey Badger throughout the story. Just not going to care. By the way, this is a ARC mod that's actually coming to the game. I still cannot wait for this year, as again, we do have some of these mods still coming. Can't wait for some of these creatures on here, especially the Smolderwing and the Paleoelasmo. So just some food for thought. So at the end of the day, can Saberwolf survive Godzilla Unleashed? Yes, but I do think at his lower ends, he does struggle a bit more. And if you keep him the same size, it's just going to be comedically funny to see these kaiju start getting ankle picked by this little monster. But on to the third one. Off, we got Terry from Dinosaur King, and this is yeah, this is gonna be bad. I feel bad for them. In all honesty, we could just end the video right here because I think the next two after him is just going to be straight up overkill. But it is what it is. They were the ones I chose here because, again, very underrated, very underutilized. So we'll also be getting Terry his element booster armor, and Jesus Christ, this is going to be bad. Now, the lower ends for Terry are universal because, again, even in their chibi forms or the control forms, they're able to handle the power of a universe. And the funny part is, they're also able to affect the Dark Pterosaur when he has to combine power of, the Cosmos Stones. Now, we do know in Dinosaur King that time and space is infinite in size, and the fact that each timeline can also be separated into its own universe. I know, very surprising, I know. But if you guys do, want a full scaling, just go watch some of my older Dinosaur King videos to kind of just get a gist of it. So Terry could easily be in the multiversal department, and there's even some arguments I've actually seen from Versus Battle Wiki that Terry could possibly be in the 1A category, or Dinosaur King in general can be in that category. But again, we do have the main tier ones. But we won't go that far. We will keep it around the multiversal, if not complex multiversal margin. And so Terry does have a plethora of powers and abilities that including, his things like Ultimate Fire, Fire Blast, well, sorry, not Fire Blast, that's Pokemon, Heat Eruption, Fire Cannon, and stuff like that. And he's easily faster than light as he's capable of dodging, reacting to the secret dinosaurs who basically utilize light itself as a weaponry. And well, he's able to easily dodge it like it's nothing. So, with that being said here, how does Terry do in Godzilla Unleashed? Now, in terms of his mutant rival, I think Crystalak is perfect for him. Because even at his lower ends, Crystalak can still absorb energy. Plus, there are possibly some higher arguments for Godzilla Unleashed. There probably has to be, but it is what it is here. But again, kind of keeping it at a low ball for right now. So let's just low ball Terry for a minute. It does, Crystalak is perfect for a solar system, for the solar system tier of Terry. As again, it means that Terry will have to just fight this one out physically, which he can do. But again, if we say that Terry's just significantly smaller, this is going to be funny as he's just faster than Crystalak. Because, imagine getting ankle picked by a Tyrannosaurus Rex and just getting pressed the entire, battle. However, using his higher ends and even giving him a size equalized stat of equivalent, same way we did with Saberwolf here, he's going to tail whip Crystalak into unconsciousness. Alright? But this also may mean Crystalak would likely get more powerful because of Terry's energy and stuff like that. But it's very possible he overloads him. As for his ally, I definitely think that Godzilla just benefits overall here. And in all honesty, who doesn't want to see Godzilla teaming up with a whole Tyrannosaurus Rex, right? It just makes the most sense just to pair him off with the King of Monsters. The King of the Dinosaurs teaming up with the King of Monsters just sounds so much more appealing than anything, and I mean anything. So these two will definitely just be going back to back, stopping monsters, stomping on heads, and just honestly destroying cities just like the best friends that they honestly could be. Now, obviously Terry can take down the Vortac mothership, likely with a magma blaster to kind of just get it over with. But what alien is he going to fight here? And in all honesty, I have the perfect pick, and I am going to explain why, because this goes into detail on how Dinosaur King could have been if we got that third season. And this is Mechagodzilla. There are no ifs, ands, or even buts about it here. Mechagodzilla is capable, is the most, realistic choice in my opinion. And this is because I found out about the Kabuto droid. Now, this droid was created by the Alpha Gang to be able to combat dinosaurs and even be a training partner for the other members of the D Team or the D Gang or whatever here. And even then, it was still formidable. This is why they had to add on other dinosaurs like Ketiosaurus and the Abelisaurus to also be formidable training partners. And the funny part about it is it's still able to smack around the other dinosaurs like just easily. It's crazy though. But again, it just makes perfect sense for Terry to go up against something that would be created to fight against monsters, the same way the Kabuto droid was able to fight against dinosaurs. Higher level dinosaurs, mind you. And then we have the apex part. Now let's just be real here. Terry's about to one tap it. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Terry's just gonna hit it with that magma blaster or that heat eruption. You know, something's gonna go through the apex. But again, let's lowball it for the sake of the story, right? This means that he and Godzilla gonna look at each other, look at that apex, likely Crystalak or whatever. And by the way, I think that means Crystalak would definitely be the most dangerous because he can absorb all that energy here. And this means they are going to just have to tag team it. They're going to just have to run the one somehow. And again, this fact that Crystalak can absorb energy does make it a lot more dangerous for them to just amplify it. But it's very possible that he and Godzilla would try to overload Crystalak itself, meaning that they would likely use a magma blaster and a atomic breath, if not a red spiral ray, to basically continuously pulverize Crystalak until he just blows up. But if that doesn't work, then, well, they could always go use the environment to their advantage. Terry could use heat eruption to set out trip mines and stuff, and Godzilla could use his own atomic breath on them to detonate them. And again, the fact that these two could just go all out, and again, if I use his ultimate form, like his more awakened state, Terry would just one-tap this entirely. So, does Terry survive? Yeah, with the absolute ease. He just steamrolls through it. But let's move on to Monster 4. Next one we got is the White Dragon from D&D. Yeah, I think it's over. For the verse, it ain't close. Nah, I'm sorry. These dragons are absolute nightmares. They're the strongest creatures in the material plane, above even the likes of Terrascue. However, this is only when they are adults, okay? The largest, says mightiest creature, dreaded monster of all, except for the largest dragons, meaning that fully grown dragons are pretty much just more terrifying and more powerful than the likes of Terrascue. This means that they scale above, well, not only Terrascue, but the Leviathan as well by a significant amount, with the Leviathan being above the likes of Mistra, who embodies all the magic in the entire multiverse. Okay? And keep in mind, this multiverse is infinitely layered with infinite dimensional, and there are many levels to it, even other planes of existence, such as the Gray Realm, which is basically, Hades' realm, or the Gray Planes, excuse me. And then you have the likes of the Demon Realms, which are their own individual pocket dimensions, all infinite in size and infinitely layered. So this no longer becomes, can they survive? Or can this one survive the Godzilla Unleashed verse? No. This becomes, can the verse survive this? Can the verse survive him? Okay? The White Dragon, despite even it's just having frostbite, is going to one-shot just about everything. It may even accidentally blow up the planet. There is no need for him to have an ally or an enemy. It really just doesn't matter at that point. You see, the funny part about this is that all these monsters might just have to gang up on the White Dragon here just because it's the strongest thing there. I mean, it literally becomes, so they just not surviving anymore. They gonna have to band together for the survival. All right, it's one-shotting the Vortex mothership and obliterating everything about it. Like, even if I say it holds back for pettiness reasons, it's still going to accidentally one-shot. If it uses a pinky, it's going to one-shot. Everything right now that this dragon touches is going to be a one-shot. But if I had to play lowball advocate, right, I would say its ally would likely be Mothra. I think it makes the most sense. Its alien rival would definitely be, or its alien, battle would definitely be Gigan, as I think it just fits, in all honesty. And then we have its mutant rivalry with the likes of Destroyer. which in my opinion, it makes the most sense. And then getting into the mothership, it obviously destroys that, fights against Gigan again, and then we have its Tyrant battle with a much stronger destroyer, where it may just create an opening, or Mothra would likely just create an opening for destroyer for the White Dragon, just to just bury its own ice breath into destroyer's chest, literally freezing it from the inside out, because again, destroyer just has a flat out weakness to sub-zero or cryo temperatures in general, so it's just not gonna do much. But again, they do have to be in the same AP range as destroyer, so anyone who's saying Shimo versus destroyer where Shimo wins here, understand that Shimo needs to have the AP to harm someone like destroyer. All right, so with that being said here, yeah, the White Dragon decimates, claps the versus cheeks unconsensually, and now we have to move on to the final monster. Yeah, I think this kind of just wraps it up here. We could just end the video now, but you know, I gotta give Metroplex his time as well here. So this is over, overkill to a degree, but let's just have fun with it, right? I mean, Metroplex's max height, sure, is, you know, 800 meters tall. Absolutely crazy, ain't it? It's just dang. And I do think his best role would definitely be working with the Global Defense Force, and in all honesty, he would likely be their last resort. To be honest, he's way more powerful than anything they have here. And in all honesty, I think they would use him if things get a little too chaotic, or if any of their monsters or their own, you know, mechanized units just simply gets corrupted overall. And I actually do think that has a large possibility of happening, especially considering in the game when the monsters or any of the monsters are able to like absorb the energy of the crystals, it does make them lose control to a certain extent here, which is why most of the monsters do have to rescue a lot of their, you know, newer allies and stuff like that. Then we have the fact that Metroplex himself is just a whole different tier entirely. He's an outerversal being, like, easily. And even with lowball him, his lowest I can definitely get him is like Galaxy, because he's able to like one-shots any Decepticon or Autobot, even those with Unutrium armor. There's no way he has the lowest of all lowballs. I can't get him that lower because he literally one-taps everything. Same here. If he decides to just use even a little bit of force, or decides to just punch one of these kaiju, it's a wrap. And again, we also know that this man may just be petty enough to make his own petting zoo. Imagine him just like walking, you know, over to every other kaiju or any battle, and the kaiju's looking at him like, what is he gonna do to us? And then you just see him like grab them, just gently pinch them and lift them up. And then he's just walking them over to like this makeshift petting zoo that just has like this indestructible metal, and he just starts placing them there. Like, now for the rest of your life, you're in this petting zoo. And in all honesty, there's nothing they could do to honestly just stop him, in my opinion. It's absolutely nothing. There's no way. The Vortex mothership gets pinky flipped or pinky poked and it just dies. Any Apex that he has a rivalry with, which I don't even think there's an Apex or any mutant left, maybe Biolante, if she starts to amass all that energy trying to like fight him, could definitely be a worthwhile Apex because she is the biggest. But again, it's still not gonna help her at the end of the day. So in all honesty, yeah, they decimate. And here's a fun fact, right? Metroplex also has Or 7 within him, and this is the ability to transmutate any form of matter. And he was actually utilizing this here in a weakened state because he was fighting against the Necro Titan, which Shockwave had pretty much created to basically be, you know, a counter to Metroplex. And in all honesty, it was doing a pretty good job because, again, Metroplex was already weakened from a previous battle or from a prolonged battle with the likes of the I think it was now the Micronauts, these necro-like aliens that had the power of death itself, or one of the few ores that contain death. And he actually used this transmutation ability to one-shot the Necro Titan. So yeah, that was actually a pretty good counter for Metroplex here. But at the end of the day, yeah, Metroplex just gets it done. But you might ask yourselves, what about every other character? How do you think they do? Well, I do think that the Tornaq definitely does the best here, especially on an interactive level. Saberwolf as well, but he's likely the weakest of this group here, and likely does struggle the most, especially on his lower ends. Then you have Terry. Terry does phenomenally well, both on his lower ends and on his higher ends, because of the over amount of versatility and the fact that he's much faster. Same with Saberwolf, but again, when it comes to like the AP department, he just slightly struggles. And then we have the White Dragon. Yeah, that just one shots everything. And then Metroplex, honestly, the only thing holding him back is his personality and his gentleness. But that's honestly going to be all for today, you guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and share it with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I hope you guys have a blessed day. And I'll see you guys for another video just like this one. But remember, go ahead and check out my post, as I do have the list of verses that are pretty much categorized. Peace.